All right, everyone, it's 7 p.m. It's time to start our May work session. Appreciate everybody coming out tonight. We've got quite a few items to get through, but shouldn't take very long. And I will just go ahead and start with awards, presentations, and proclamations for next week. Alvin, I think, might have one to add that's not on here currently. We give out the graduation cords to the youth council members, and we just overlooked putting that on, and so we'll add that one. And then, Gary, did you have one before?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
About number one. So I read it in the online pack, and it looks like there should be a name inserted in there, but it's blank. Is it one name, multiple names? Who are we recognizing?
It's a generic, but it's in that red folder that you're going to be signing. All the names are, and there's I think there's 20 young boys, and I'll talk about that in just a second.
It's the attendee, then not the person that put the thing on?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's all the young men that are in there, and I'll talk about it, so I apologize for that. So Alvin and I, we have been involved in an enrichment academy over the last couple years, and it is a partnership between Sugar Hill Church, Lanier Middle School, and then obviously Alvin and I support it from a mentorship standpoint. They pick about 20, I guess, 7th graders to do a 2-year cohort. And so we started 2 years ago with all of these young men. We meet every other Saturday. We provide them with academic support and just mentorship. I even go to like their soccer matches and stuff where their parents are not able to go, just to try to support these boys. This is not anything that costs the city anything. It's just something that we volunteer to do. Remarkable improvement in these young men over a 2-year period. We've watched them mature in all different ways. I mean, including they just grow. They're just bigger. They're physically bigger. It's amazing how fast boys grow in middle school. And so they are about to graduate from the program. They'll go on to Lanier High School, and there's a program there called Distinguished Gentlemen, which is a fantastic program that they have. And all of these boys, if they choose, and I think most will choose to go into this program. Their banquet and awards ceremony is tomorrow night at Sugar Hill Church, and they'll all be recognized and given a Distinguished Gentleman tie for high school, and they'll be recognized for their volunteer hours and many different things that they've done over the 2-year period. And so that's what all of that is about. I apologize for the number of them. We just wanted to make sure that we gave them all something special that they could have. I'm not going to read 20 different proclamations. I'm just going to read one generic proclamation, and then we'll call the boys up individually and shake their hands and hug them, and that'll be that. Alvin, did I miss anything? Good deal. In addition to the boys, we'll have some of the other mentors. There's a couple of teachers that are involved. One, Leslie Adames from Sycamore Elementary School. She has been the math tutor for them. And then I would imagine some of the parents will be here as well with the boys. So, Joy Crow, who's I think you know Joy. She's one of the teachers. She helps with English and literature with the boys, and she'll be here as well. She's a very instrumental part of the academy. So it'll be, I think, packed initially in the room with a lot of these boys and their parents and the mentors. And that's it. I'm glad to answer any questions about the proclamations are in the red folder.
Thank you for explaining that. I knew about the academy, but I didn't know the grade levels.
Yeah.
Because I've kept up with it with Joy and some pictures, and it seems like it's been an awesome experience for these boys. They're at 7th and 8th grades?
No, we start with 7th graders, and we spend 2 years with them. And so we started with these boys when they were in 7th grade, and so they've done 7th grade and 8th grade with us. And then for the next program, Lanier Middle School will pick more 7th graders, and they'll go again through a 2-year program. Yeah.
Because the proclamation says 7th and
I apologize. I haven't looked at it since I sent it to Jane, and it's been a while. And we'll make sure that, I'm not, I apologize.
That's all right, I was just clarifying the
Okay,
That's in the text when we need to be silent.
you got it. Thank you for raising that with me. Good deal. All right, any other questions on that before we move on to old business? All right, and thanks again for letting us do that. All right, we'll now move on to old business. Art, I'm going to recognize you on items 1 and 2.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first item we have is Design Review Board TCO 25003. This one and the subsequent application the council has seen the past couple of weeks. Mr. Mayor and Council, for DRB TCO 25-003, which is at 5290 Sycamore Road, the request is to replace an existing home. The existing home sits approximately 16 and a half feet from the right-of-way, and the proposed new home is requested to be 25 feet from the right-of-way, and we'll show that on the overlay in a moment. The setback for RS 100 along a major collector is 45 feet. We did reach out to our Public Works and to Gwinnett County and did not receive any comments or concerns of the request for the setback. The staff recommendation is to approve as submitted and requested with the final designs substantially resembling the attached exhibits labeled 1 through 3. I'm sorry. So the first item that we have is in the shaded in the light purple, the triangular lot at Sycamore Road nearest intersection with Appling. And in the overhead, you can see the existing home. And then here are the zonings for the subject parcel, the parcel next door, and the adjacent parcels, which include HM1 and BG. And council has seen the site plan here as submitted by the applicant. And I think I have another zoomed in here. Again, the request is to have the setback at 25 feet from 45 feet. The two parcels that are in question right here are shown on the same slide, side by side. And then if I can go to the next one. Okay, so going to the next slide, if council can see the outline of red. Okay, all right. So we had it shaded, but we had to redo that. We'll try to get that shaded more for next week. That red outline is showing the proposed footprint of the proposed house that would go. And then I wanted not to skip to the next one, but to show how the two would look, if you will, on the same slide with the proposed outlines of the proposed new houses that would replace the existing ones. So I'm just going to let council take a look at that for just a quick second. Okay. Right. And then here are some photos of the existing houses. The one on the left with the blue star in the corner is for 5290, and then the one next door, which I'll get to in the next presentation, but that's just showing them side by side so you can get an idea of the view. Okay. And here are some more pictures. I was standing, as you can see, at the intersection of Appling and Sycamore, just taking a couple photos there. And then the photo on the right, I'm standing right in the driveway. Okay. Okay. And then here are the elevations of the proposed house for 5290. And again, Mr. Mayor and Council, staff has a recommendation of approval with the final designs substantially resembling the attached exhibits labeled 1 through 3, and the reduction of the setback from 25 to 45 feet. I'll go back to the site plan there.
Thank you, Art. I know the setback was something that came up from a question standpoint. It doesn't look like they've done any changes on that, or?
I think it's pretty much the same. On the subsequent application, the house that has the garage, which is 5,300, I think, we did, not to skip, but I'll skip a little bit. There was a question about whether or not the garage was going to stay from the owners. We did get information that they are planning to keep the garage, and that's skipping ahead to the next lot, but since it's next door, I didn't want to go ahead and mention that.
No worries, I appreciate that. Gary has a question, yes.
Yes, during the discussion last month, we discussed that these current buildings seem to be close to the road, and these are even larger buildings. They're wanting to go there. One of the things we suggested, and the reason we tabled it, is we asked that the lots be redivided 10 feet or more off of what looks like northernmost in this side lot, adding to the one on the triangular lot, so that both of those could be slid back from the road. Was no effort made to follow that suggestion?
We reached out to the applicant about that. Logan, I don't know if they.
Say that again? Why? We can give a variance on the garage just like we can give a variance on the front, but I'd much rather give a variance 100 feet off the road than I would for 120 feet off the road. That garage is already built. I don't see how that impacts moving the property line. So I would suggest that be conveyed back to him as we made a suggestion, and nothing's been done with it. To me, this looks identical to what we didn't like last month.
All right, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Yes, Taylor?
My recollection from last month was the existing garage was going to be torn down. Is that correct?
There was some ambiguity as to whether or not it was going to stay. And so we did get information from the applicant that they are proposing to keep the garage. They weren't sure, but we did reach out to them to ask if they had made a decision, and because it was going to make we needed to know in regards to the request, but the information that we got is that the applicants are looking to keep the garage at the next slide. I think it's at 5,300.
Okay. And I guess I'm probably going to make some comments on both of these, even though I know you're going to talk about 5,300. For 5,290, it seems like they can orient that house maybe more parallel to the one property line and be able to push that back even more than what's shown on here. And then for the other one, it seems like if they pushed it over to the, I don't know which way is north on here, but let's just say if north is up, they can push it to the northwest property line and then be able to scoot that house further back to get closer to being in compliance with the 40-foot setback. So it seems like there's not a whole lot of effort being made to minimize the setback request here.
I will say, and sorry for my interruption, Councilman.
Okay.
Skipping ahead a little bit to 5,300, but since kind of keeping them together a little bit, the applicant did say that they are probably able to do a 35-foot setback on 5,300. They still wanted to be able to have the flexibility. So there is a possibility that they could push the 5,300 house, a little further back without having any issue. And we could go back and revisit with the applicant, see about re-subdividing and see if and shifting some more. We've had several conversations, with them, but we've relayed the information, but we have to,
Art, you don't have to explain yourself. You've done all that you can do from your standpoint, and we appreciate it. Yes, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, for 5290, but for both, I mean, no effort has been done from what we've really seen, and I think I'm still in the same position as last month, is keep the variance the same, no variance for the front. I mean, so that's, my position still remains the same. That road is already an awful road. It's going to be widened one day, eventually, and they need to be off the road. So I'm not really sure how else your team can articulate that to them, but, I mean, yeah, so I appreciate what y'all have done thus far to try to get it. I just hate to waste our time continuously and their time if they're not heeding what we're trying to say.
Thank you, Josh. Yep, Gary?
And just one other comment. As you drive down that road from Highway 20, those houses stick out because of the bend in the road. They're very noticeable, as you see there. And those are small one-story wooden houses. They're proposing to replace them with some pretty big two-story houses. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb if they stay in that current location. Thank you.
All right. Yes?
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah.
Are they requesting any side setbacks or just the front setback?
the front.
The diagram seems to indicate that they're going to be closer than 10 feet to the side yard. Would that not require a variance?
It would. We believe that they were able to shift the house a little, I think it would be to the west, I think that's right, to be able to meet the setback. It's showing, I think, 9. Let me go back to it.
Okay.
Just under 10 feet, but they have 13 and a half on the other side setback, so they should be able just to move that over. But so there was not a request. You're right, but there was not a request for what would be the east setback. Yeah.
I think Josh just got a question.
Yeah, I mean, it brings up a good point. I mean, we're under the 10, it's going to require a variance. I mean, it seems like, I don't know if you can consider this application incomplete. It needs to get tossed back to them, but I mean, this is not something in my mind that we can take up next week if we're under 10 feet and we don't have a variance there. I mean, we need to see all the information from the applicant at this point. I mean, so if we're not requesting a side variance, good catch, Frank, on that. I mean, we've got to have everything done and their ducks in a row and how these houses are positioned, not, your team assuming, and I know that the applicant's no knock to y'all. I know the applicant's not giving you the information. They're just saying, hey, sure, we can potentially move it 2 feet. Yeah, well, we got to have it shown on the diagram like we requested last month from the applicant.
We can, we'll touch base with
Okay.
the applicants again and just ask them to nail everything.
They got to do some work. Yeah, I mean, they got work to do.
Yeah.
Art, and we can continue to table this as well until they can come back to us with something that the council would approve of. Overall, I think the homes are beautiful, and they would be a beautiful addition to that area, but we just have some concerns again about the setbacks, and
Yeah.
and that's, for us, it's really important from a safety standpoint, so.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Councilor Mayor,
ma'am. Meg would like to make a comment.
Art, I would like to ask you, as Gary pointed out, the house at 5290 is a total of 2,100 square feet, according to the packet. And most of the houses along there at Sycamore range anywhere from, say, maybe 17 or 18 up to 2,000. It would seem that if the house could just be a little bit smaller and in keeping with the rest of the houses on Sycamore, if it was just a little bit smaller, then there would be room to have the right setback there. And was anything suggested about making the house just a little bit smaller?
Not that I'm aware of, no, ma'am. I don't know if there were any conversations with Logan and the applicant or the designer with that, but I have not had those conversations in regards to potentially shrinking the footprint, to your point.
Thank you, Meg. All right, any other questions or comments? And we've just done 5290, so I guess we can talk about 5300 too very, very quickly if you want to.
Yes, sir. Gotcha. There we go, okay.
Thank you.
All right, there we go. All right, and this is DRB TCO 25-004, which is 5300 Sycamore Road, which is adjacent to the parcel that we were just discussing. This parcel is is a fair amount larger than the next door parcel. This is the one that has the garage, which is we understand now to be kept on the property. And Mr. Mayor and Council, this is also the property where the applicants have said that potentially a 35-foot setback might still work for them and give them the room that they need. And then here again, you see the survey with the existing houses, and then the proposed footprint for 5300 is outlined in red. And then these are the two proposed houses side by side with the proposed footprints outlined in red. And then again, the pictures of the houses, again, this time the blue star on 5300 with the garage. And I believe these are the same photos that you saw just a second ago.
Okay.
And then these are the elevations for 5300. Mr. Mayor and Council, again, the staff recommendation is approval of the site plan and buildings with material and architectural detail with the following conditions: that the final designs shall substantially resemble the attached exhibits labeled exhibits 1 through 3, and again, on the reduction of the setback, but that is similar to the 5290.
All right, thank you, Art. Any additional questions, comments about this one? Yes, Taylor?
Just to echo what the mayor said, I think the homes themselves, there's no issue with the architecture. I think at least for me, it's the request for the setback and them not taking the time, either with their architect or surveyor, to really position the houses on the existing lots to reduce the ask as much as possible. I think Gary's point about them being 2-story versus 1-story I think that's really a big kicker as well, that the existing houses that are close to the street are 1-story and much smaller, so these bigger houses should be set back from a busy street. That's why that distinction is in our zoning ordinance between a major thoroughfare and a less busy road. Do you know what, from an administrative standpoint, what you can do from a setback standpoint administratively? And I'm sorry to put you on the spot there.
Fine. I think off the cuff, we might have I might have a small amount, and maybe Paul, I'll have to go back and look at the ordinance. Do you remember Randolph Logan? I think
That's okay, Art.
it's either the planning director or the city manager.
Right.
Yeah.
I think my point being is that I think I would advise the applicant to work within, at worst, the administrative side of whatever you can do administratively, and really work, as Josh said, on positioning these houses exactly where they are going to be on the property, taking a little time with either their architect or surveyor to really nail down exactly what they're asking for. Because as Frank pointed out, there's that side setback issue on another one. I think they just need to take a little more time, and potentially they may not even need the variance request from us at all. We would just be looking at the architecturals, which I think everybody's good with. I think that's my advice that I would give back to the applicant.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Taylor. I think Gary might have a
Yeah,
comment as well.
a couple of comments. Frank mentioned to me that I want to echo. One, he thinks the administrative may be 5 feet, right? But the main thing was, we didn't discuss that garage before because we were told it was going to be removed, right? If it stays, it needs to be updated so the exterior matches the building as opposed to being left as a concrete siding building.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
I just have a general question, and Art, I'm going to put you on the spot, and you can tell me you have no clue, and that's okay. Do you know why staff, and I guess the planning department, is recommending the 25-foot from the 45-foot variance? Is there a particular reason, or is it just that's what we do in the TCO, and it kind of aligns with everything else that we're doing? I'm not sure if there's an exact reason. Just trying to understand, that's all.
It's generally standard.
Okay.
Again, we'll reach out to, say, Public Works, our Public Works, the county, whoever, GDOT, whoever the players might be, to see if there are any maybe concerns about the reduction. And then if we get that, we want to take that into consideration, where, for example, we might suggest a lesser amount of setback, if there is a question or concern. So we do reach out to those other entities to see if there are any questions, or such as maybe a potential road project or something that might come up that might impact the property in the near future, because we don't want someone to do that and then they're going to be that much closer to a new established right-of-way or something.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, appreciate it. Any other questions, comments? Meg?
I just want to clarify on this application for 5,300, the reduced setback is 25 feet, not 35, because I thought I heard last week that the only change in this plan was he would be okay with 35 feet and not 25, but it's still 25.
It's still 25, yes, ma'am. The applicant said that for 5,300, I think, that they might be able to work with 35 a bit more, but they were still requesting 25 to be able to have the leeway.
All right, anybody else? All right, so I think what we're going to do next Monday night is we're just going to table this just out of an abundance of caution to give them more time to maybe get it back to us in a manner which we can support.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. All right, we're going to now move on to new business and take up item number 3, 4997 Spring Hill Drive. Art, that is you as well.
Guess what, Mr. Mayor? Y'all have another design review application. This is DRB TCO 25-005 at 4997 Spring Hill Drive. And you can see the parcel outlined in the lavender color, with the existing zoning of being RS 150 and RM zoning to the rear and side. And here is a survey of the property. There is an existing house on the property, and the request is to have a front porch addition. There are no variances being requested for the property. And here you can see the schematic of the proposed porch addition. Mr. Mayor, the staff recommendation is approval of the site plan with the buildings and material and architectural detail with the following conditions: that the final design shall substantially resemble the attached exhibit labeled Exhibit 1.
All right, thank you, Art. I know that Gary has a question or comment.
I'd just like to point out how much better this application is than the previous one. Everything's detailed there is the way we need. It meets the existing setbacks. It doesn't disrupt the neighborhood or visibility from the road. I think this is kind of a model of what we should see, particularly the details of the schematics on the house existing in
Yes, sir.
right there. And then the next one that's got the architect's view. No, not that one, but the next one on down. Yeah, there. I mean, they've done an excellent job, and I'd just like to see everything else come more like this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? All right, we'll move on to item number 4. That is to annex and rezone to RS72 medium density. And that is you as well, Art.
Yes, sir. And this is at an annexation rezoning. This is 5774 Henry Bailey Road. Mr. Mayor and Council, you can see the parcels outlined in the lavender color. Here is more of an inset of the parcels. The parcels are located off Highway 20, and it conforms with the village plan concept from our Envision 100 plan, where we typically had residential with some commercial along the corridor. And you can see the existing development and zonings in the area. Mr. Mayor and Council, this is proposed as a 40-unit, single-family detached residential neighborhood. And what we're showing right now is just a typical lot layout that would be seen throughout the neighborhood. You can see the landscape strip, the sidewalks, 5-foot sidewalks on either side of the street. And Mr. Mayor and Council, the next few slides will be renderings of the proposed elevations of the homes. Okay. Mr. Mayor and Council, this was presented to the Planning Commission. There was one citizen, Mr. Sudderth, who spoke during the opposition portion of the meeting. Mr. Sudderth said he didn't necessarily have opposition, but he wanted to make sure that there was going to be adequate buffer between the proposed development and his home, and he seemed to be satisfied with the requirements that are set forth already. It's a 20-foot landscape strip and a 6-foot opaque wooden fence was acceptable to him. And the vote from the commission, excuse me, from the Planning Commission was to recommend approval to the mayor and council, and that was a 5-0 vote. The staff recommendation is to recommend approval of annexation and rezoning to RS 72 with the following conditions. That the development shall substantially conform to the site plan in Exhibit 1, particularly regarding its general features, placement, and alignments. However, alterations necessary to accommodate other conditions specified herein are permitted without additional mayor and city council approval, provided they align with the spirit and context of the approval as determined by the planning department. All streets, alleys, sidewalks, common area landscaping, and stormwater infrastructure shall be privately owned and maintained by the Property Owners Association. A copy of the deed dedicating said infrastructure to the HOA and recorded covenants specifying maintenance of the infrastructure shall be provided to the city prior to the approval of the final plat.
Hey, Art, you're good. We can read it on the screen.
Okay,
Thank
sorry.
you. Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Can you go back to the map? I just want to see geographically where this is
Oh,
located.
yes, I'm sorry.
And all the other surrounding properties.
Across from Emerald Lakes, it's slightly more towards it.
Got it.
So this is, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor on the thing. Okay, okay. So Georgia 20, Kendricks Road, Swanee, I'm going to go back up to, let's see here, let's see if I can zoom in here. Or, there's Publix,
Okay.
just to give a point of reference.
Thank you.
And then,
I'm assuming Mr. Sudda's property is the one with the big home on it behind, or? Got it.
yeah.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Questions or comments about this one? Yes, Taylor.
Just for the newer council's historical, if they aren't familiar with this property was requested a couple of years ago to be zoned to apartments in the county, and it was denied without prejudice. So I would just point out that this is being an unincorporated Gwinnett. They've already asked for multifamily on this, and it was denied. So just to keep that in mind going forward, that is the history of this property as far as what's been attempted to be zoned on it prior.
Meg, you were reaching, I believe. Yes,
I have a
ma'am.
question. Could you go to the slide that shows, I think it's the next one, the neighbor, okay, this area, that one. So there are some houses there on La Perla that border the property. Did they receive letters about this?
They would have, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't see that in the packet. Okay, and there were no phone calls, emails, nothing from any of the residents there?
I'll have to go back to see what our record was, but there were a few people at the planning commission meeting. Mr. Sutter spoke, but in regards to communication to the office, not sure if we.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, Gary?
All right, so with that picture right there, we can see they're asking for R75, but everything around it's R100, R200, RS100, nothing else on 20 until you get all the way down here to the townhomes that are next to the springs. Nothing else is of that density. Excuse me. I'm glad the county turned it down. I think the apartments they wanted there were completely out of character with the area. This is a little denser than I'd like. The net density they show is less than RS100, but they're claiming a lot of credit for this ravine where about 10 houses or more could go if it were developable land. But they're claiming credit for that, and it's completely unusable, right? So relating to that ravine, they've got to cross it somehow. They either have to build a bridge, which I doubt they're going to do because of the expense, or they're going to put a couple of culverts in there and put dirt over to get across, right? There's no way a subdivision that size is going to be able to pay for that when that fails in 30 years, or the streets. I don't think they ought to be private streets. They pay the same taxes as all the rest of us. I think we ought to strike that condition out of there. The other thing is, if they want to go to this density, then, and they want a concession from us to do what would be RS100 normally around it, I'd like a concession from them too. I would like one of these lots in here dropped out, specifically lot number 1, 10, 15, or 30, and it dedicated to the HOA as an amenity for them, and build something on it, whether it's gazebo, playground, some bench swings or something. I want something for the community there if they're going to go to this density level. Other than that, I don't have a huge problem with it.
Thank you, Gary. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Josh?
I guess to the private streets, I'm fine with them being private streets. I'd rather them be private streets, quite honestly. I think with proper planning, any association can bear the cost over the course of 20 to 30 years. So that's on the association, that's on the community's part. So keeping it private streets, and the more amenities that you add and deed it back to the association just increases dues over time. So however we can keep these houses, they're already in the 500s, 550s is what they or what they suggested, 550 in their letter. Yeah, so however you can keep them affordable on some sort of ongoing operating cost, then the better long term. So, but I think it's something that we're looking for. It's not townhomes; they're detached, and I think that's great to bring in and incorporate some more property on 20 to continue to integrate into the city. So,
All right, thank you, Josh. Any other questions or comments? All right, we'll move on to item number 5 then.
Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Mayor and Council, the next item we have is RZ 25003, which is 4862 White Street. And here we see the property outlined off White Street, which I believe is also called Line Street on the other side of with Buford. So here you can see the parcel with the blue star. Mr. Mayor and Council, the proposal is to rezone the property and divide the property into 3 building lots. And Mr. Mayor and Council, this is presently zoned MH, manufactured housing, and the request is to go to R36. You can see the existing homes in the area, and I'm sorry, I went a little fast, I'll go back. These would be single-family detached homes that would go on the lot. Again, the current zoning is MH for mobile homes, manufactured housing. And the footprints of the homes, seem to align pretty well with the size of the parent tract and the proposed division of the lots. Mr. Mayor, we did have a recommendation from the Planning Commission unanimously to recommend approval of the application. There was no opposition at the Planning Commission meeting, and the staff recommendation is approval, as you can see outlined with the conditions there as well.
Art, thank you. Could you go back to the slide that shows how it's going to be divided up
Oh,
into
yes.
three?
Mhm.
It just went
Yes,
through
sir.
quickly. I was just, okay. All right, any questions, comments? Yes, Gary?
So I'm happy to see new development go in this area, but I don't see how 3 lots with houses 10 feet apart fits the character of that at all. I'm happy to go 2 lots. He's going to double his money or more off of that, but 3 with houses 10 feet apart just doesn't match that area, or to me doesn't match what I want to see in the city. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? Meg?
Yes, I would tend to agree. I went out and walked the property and noticed the houses in the area. It was difficult to visualize 3 houses on that lot, and 5 feet in between them is just not enough. I don't agree with that. So it's a nice lot. I think that 2 houses would be even better. It's a kind of a narrow street. So I just think that 2 would be better and still be able to make a profit, and it certainly would to be either 2 would be, even the 2 would be a great addition to that street. But I'm not so sure about 3.
Well, we can take that, those comments back to the applicant. We did, staff did meet with the applicants a few times, probably 4 or 5, 6 times over the past couple of months or so, in person and various phone calls and so on. And while I can't speak specifically to the, to the applicants, we did chat a good amount in regards to the potential number that was going to be feasible and so on. So we will take that back to the applicant so that they will see, have the comments and then see if amongst themselves how that, could work, with something different, potentially.
All right, thank you for the comments. Yes, Josh?
I do understand the concern with the 5 foot. I'm very familiar with this area, very familiar with all of the other lot redevelopment that's happening in Beaufort, taking a lot of the older lots that has 1 home on it and, multiplying it 2, 3 times, 2, 3, 4. I think FC Street is a very prime example, if anyone's familiar with Beaufort, of what they've done in the past 15 years. Just on FC Street alone, it was an old mobile home park. I think it had 10 to 11 mobile homes over there that were all riddled with asbestos, and now that entire circle has been completely redeveloped, and it started with just 2 homes that were very similar just to this. So that entire area will eventually be redeveloped, and that is a very older part of our city that I think is now the opportunity, desirable area, people getting closer to the city of Beaufort for their school system, which I completely understand. So, do I love the 5 foot on the sides? Not a huge fan of it. If we can try to work with them to figure out something there, but I think this is a great project and something that's needed. And I know I believe the street's ours, so of course, add that to whatever we can do there to make it a little bit more wider if we can, or whatever we can do there and make sure we factor that in to the front setbacks as well, so.
Thank you, Josh. And I'm going to agree with Josh. I'm not so worried about the 5 feet for future residents because they're buying the home and they know what they're buying and they're buying because they want it. What I would be most worried about is just the surrounding neighbors and how they would feel about the closeness. I actually know LaWanda Titshaw and her husband fairly well, so I might ask their opinion on it. But there were no comments from any of the neighbors in the area.
No,
So,
sir.
Got it. All right, any other questions or comments? Taylor, yes?
I just point out that it's actually a 5-foot setback, so there's going to be 11, at least shown, as it's shown on the site plan here, there's actually 11 feet between the houses, not 5 feet. And that existing shed on lot 62 there is, I mean, it looks like it's within a couple of feet of the property line as it is today, and certainly not more than 5 feet. So, I mean, I think that what we're seeing here is an opportunity to at least, add some starter homes, which I believe this is what this would be starter homes. And to Josh's point, this area it has a great opportunity to start some redevelopment of those starter homes in this area with just these 3 homes. It'll set the standard for helping this area as it matures and redevelops going forward. So I think this is a good plan, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the public has to say on Monday. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? All right, we'll move on to item number 6. Art, you're a busy person tonight.
Yes, sir. Get to the, okay, all right. Mr. Mayor and Council, the next item we have is ZOA 25-002, which is a zoning ordinance amendment regarding residential driveways. And now this has a little history. The staff was presented 3 potential options for text amendments at the October work session, and City Council was asked to give some guidance in regards to the preferred text. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, what we are looking at with this proposal is to take language that we currently have in our ordinance in regards to driveways, whether or not, what the type of gravel potentially could be used for the driveways on the property, and to streamline the application and regulations so that we don't have conflicts, and then make some easier calculations. So just briefly, we looked at some of the surrounding communities to see what they have for percentage limitations for impervious surface on driveways in their communities. And what we try to do is to be aligned, generally with the surrounding communities. So I'll just let you take a look at that for a few moments. We did ask our consultants, CPL Clark Patterson, to do to provide us what you see right now is a detail of gravel driveways with some more specifics in regards to the types of stone, the compact percentage, depth, things along those lines, so we could have something concrete, if you will, to be able to give to citizens in regards to what the requirements would be for gravel driveways. I will say the staff, including the codes enforcement officers, planning, Troy was a tremendous help. We collectively worked with this to see about having something that we felt was going to be enforceable, that's something that we could give to citizens that was easily understood and still have the intentions of the council in regards to what the updates would be. So that's just the brief summation of that, and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Art, any questions?
Oh, and I'm sorry, in the planning commission recommend approval, sorry.
Gary?
Can you go back to the section that showed the percentages of the front yard that can be taken up by a driveway? Well, you just passed it, right there.
Yeah.
And what percentage is recommended in our ordinance?
So we are the maximum of 20% parking coverage for the entire lot.
All right, if you look at that, and if you look at item number 1 on the agenda, that single-family residence on Sycamore Road, you don't have to go back to it, but it had the U-shaped driveway. I don't think there's any way it would meet this. That was nearly 50% of the front yard taken up by the driveway with the variance they're requesting. So to me, it's just more reason not to go along with that setback that they're asking for. Thank you.
All right, any comments about the amendment that Art is presenting here? Are we good with it? We've talked about this for at least a year, maybe less, sorry. All right, Art, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you all.
All right, next we'll move on to item number 7, Troy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is not ready for presentation tonight. I still need some additional information so I can provide an informative recommendation to you. So this is something that does have a June 15th deadline. We'll be able to discuss it at the June meeting. I would recommend that next week, if I have information, I would like to present it, and that'll make the June conversation a lot easier.
Okay.
So if you can keep it on here and table it at that time, I'll
Got
have
it.
information
And-
next week.
And all this is the state approved some additional LMIG funding that doesn't have to be matched. They did this last year as well, and we have a certain allocation that Sugar Hill is eligible for, and it adds to our ability to repave roads, more roads in our neighborhoods.
And
Yes,
just in the
Gary?
way of context, we have about 130,000 left as a difference between our contract recently awarded to Triple R Paving and our budget amount, and then this 309,000 that is coming from the state.
So I'm all for paving as much as we can and accepting this grant. One thing I'd like to see when you bring this back up for discussion, you've been working on the grading system for the roads in the city. I'd like to see an illustration of the red, green, yellow on there and what this does to address that and how much farther we got to go. Thank you.
All right, so you're saying we'll talk about this next Monday, but we'll probably need to take action in June. Okay. All right, next, let's move on to item number 8, and that's the Gulf System irrigation repairs.
This is an item that was in our 2025 budget for the golf course. It is in the golf renewal and replacement line item, part of the operating budget. There were funds allocated of $237,000 for work on the irrigation system. There are 2 pump houses at the golf course. One of them is in dire need of repairs currently. It includes some of the piping system, pump operating systems, and computer components that operate it. We did get 4 price proposals from qualified vendors. The memo outlines those bids or proposals. One, Tri-State Pump and Controls, $159,578. Jerry Pate, $197,734. Central Turf and Irrigation, $216,500. Ewing Outdoor Supply, $258,939. Staff did investigate Tri-State Pump and Controls for references and believe they offer the best value and long-term benefit for the golf course, and they are the lowest price. So staff is recommending approving the purchase of these improvements and repairs from Tri-State at $159,578, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for their installation. I will make an edit to the contract. I think I've got the city manager's name in there, but I will correct that for next week.
All right, thank you, Troy. Any questions on this item? All right, no questions. We'll move off of new business. We have no work session discussion items, so I'll hand it over to Paul for his city manager updates and discussions.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to inform you, I have accepted an annexation request through the 100% method for an area that borders both Swanee Dam Road and the area that's south of the 5-minute oil change and Dunkin' Donuts for a general business activity that would appears to be a mixed-use development that would include a water park, surfing type of pool, as well as restaurant, and then some retail. We've submitted it to the county, and we have not had any objection yet. I doubt whether we'll have an objection from them. We've also sent it to the school board. The parcels for your edifications are 7399005, which is BG, 7399006, which is RS100. It's a house that's back up in the woods behind 5-minute oil. And then 7399006A, once again, RS100, that is a house that is up in the woods behind Dunkin' Donuts and the 5-minute oil. This will be on the Planning Commission agenda for May 19th, and then City Council's June agenda. I think we can send a notice, send a copy at some point in time of the images, so we'll do that. The second item on my report is something that Cindy and I and Troy, but particularly Cindy and I have been working on, which is you requested something dealing with a property tax millage rate and collection policy. And so what I sent you on Friday basically takes you through the process from the assessment process by the county, and then the county sends us a digest, and then the digest is used to run the advertisements for 3 public hearings prior to the adoption of the millage rate. And then before property bills are sent to the city, the digest is sent to the planning department to look at stormwater fees that need to be added to the tax billing, even though it's a fee, not a tax, but we collect it through the same tax bill. And so it'll indicate the parcel number and the amount that's been billed. Any properties that are under appeal, we would receive a temporary bill at 85% of the new bill, or 100% of the previous years, whatever the taxpayer wants. They're due 2 months after mailing, and on about November 20th, and then payments can be made to Sugar Hill City Council. Not City Council, City Hall, mailed or paid online via the city's website. And then you see, next process is how interest is for anybody who's late paying, what is the period of time, the interest and penalties that are added to that pursuant to state law, and then how they continue to accrue over time. And then you would see what will happen as we get longer and longer away, all the way to the 5A process, where we would file a lien on the property. There would be a filing fee that would be added to the amount that's on the delinquent taxes, and then once the lien has been and the payments have been satisfied, there'll be another fee that would be charged to the property for the filing of the lien cancellation. So that is the policy that we've developed. We did look at surrounding communities, particularly Duluth and Swanee, and we know what Lawrenceville has as well. So this is the policy we're recommending that we would follow moving forward from the collection of delinquent taxes.
Thank you, Paul. Any I know you're not done with your report, but any questions about this?
I have some comments on it.
Yes, Gary.
So it's not quite what I was looking for, but I think it's a real good framework to build off of. You actually solved the toughest part of the problem that I had. I'm not really interested in adding on any additional fees if they're having problems paying the bills and within the time frame that you established for going to the tax sale. I don't necessarily see a need to add the fees there. The things I would like to see added were more of notice. So if you have not paid your property tax within 1 week of its due, 2 weeks if you want, we send out a letter. Your property tax was due on this date, please pay your bill. If we have not got a response or they've not paid or whatever within, say, a month after that, a second letter that goes out and it says, your taxes are late, please pay them or come to City Hall and make arrangements to have a payment plan set up if we're willing to do that. And explain to them that the next notice will be the notice of the tax sale. And however they say, so that's really the main difference there. I'm not in favor of the additional penalties, and I would like those two notices to go out between the bill being due and the tax sale. Thank you.
Regarding the letters, that would be inherent in the policy itself. We would, when the due date, and we get to like 120 days, there are state law processes that we would go through, but they would have all kinds of due process in this. And we were not going to go to a tax sale. We're just going to file
Lien, or whatever it is we're going to do.
on the property. And so whenever the property is, if it is sold, you know, we would be made whole, the city would be made
Right.
whole. And then if it is paid, we would work with them. They can make a partial payment, but the lien would still exist until the lien has been satisfied. And then the filing fees are fees that we have to pay to the Superior Court.
Okay, sure.
In order to file the lien or to cancel the lien.
Perhaps I stated that wrong. There was wording in there about interest in addition to fees, and I just didn't see that as particularly being necessary, but I thought you were talking about a sale versus a lien. But the main thing is I want it written in the policy that those letters will go out a week after and then a month later.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Gary, you're talking about there's a language in there, penalty of 5%.
Yeah.
And are you okay?
Most people are going
Go ahead.
Most people are going to pay their taxes, and if they didn't pay the counties and the schools, they're already in bigger trouble, right? And it's already going to go to a sale, right? I don't think most people are intentionally avoiding the city taxes. They do have this issue where getting the second bill, and we've got a long list, and we need to discuss that about the people that haven't paid in these 4 years, and I think there needs to be something separate sent to them, including a personal visit, to let them know, hey, this has happened. You obviously didn't notice. I don't think you intentionally didn't pay because you paid your county bills, but you're 4 years behind, right? And we've got to get that taken care of. But in the case of where they're up to date and they're just a little behind, again, I don't think they're going to intentionally not pay 5% of their total tax bill when they paid the rest, right? So I think in most cases it's an oversight of that sort of thing, and that's why I want the letters to be in there to make sure we've done what we could do to give them notice, right? If they choose not to pay, that's on them, right? I have no problems with going to the liens or whatever, but I still think we have some issues with people that are paying the counties and not the cities because of whatever reason. It got sent to the wrong place. They thought it was paid by their escrow or whatever, but that's the situation I want to take care of.
I agree with you 100%. Do you want to take out that section that deals with the penalty of 5%? Is that what you're suggesting?
If there's anything that we have to pay, I want to pass those fees on, right? But if we're just charging interest and that sort of thing, again, I don't think it's intentional. And 5% over, I don't know, it's what, 120 days till we're going to the lien? I mean, 5% on that, I don't think it's going to be very much. I mean, you're talking probably an average property tax bill to the cities under $1,000, right? So, I mean, I just didn't see a need of stacking on there.
Taylor and then Josh.
To to kind of piggyback with what Gary and Brandon are saying, do we have the ability to differentiate between penalties for properties, say, that have a homestead exemption in place versus those that do not? Do we have that ability?
I would lean to council, but my recollection is no.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because I don't know what, if commercial properties are more likely to not pay their taxes and have issues, particularly since a lot of those properties end up being owned by not local people. If we had that ability, I would suggest that that's how you could divide that. Otherwise, I think we may be incentivizing commercial properties to not pay their taxes and basically get a free ride for a period of time. And their city taxes actually can be pretty significant. So the penalty amount is for a homestead exemption is going to be relatively small. And I would rather leave that penalty in there to penalize the commercial property owners who are not local to make sure they pay their bill on time and not use us as a free interest way of making some additional money, because that's what they're going to do. So I'm inclined to recommend that we leave the penalties in there, given the small amount for our homeowners versus the commercial property owners who are more likely to take advantage of a penalty-free system that we would put in place.
And to follow up on that, I think, and I know that, Gary, you've mentioned there are one or two commercial properties that owe a lot. And I know that Cindy and her team, particularly Cindy, has sent letter after letter after letter. They say, well, it's corporate, you got to go to the corporate office, we don't know about this. If this were in place, we'd probably already have a lien on we would have filed a lien on their property, which will get the attention of their investors and any of their debt partners. So I think leaving it in here with the interest, as well as taking us to, unfortunately, the obvious end, which is filing a lien. That you'd rather not file a lien, but if we get to that point, this gives us I think the authority in order to get their attention.
Yes, Gary.
So I think that's a valid point about the commercial there. And if we're only doing liens as opposed to tax sales, then I don't think the penalties are significant. So I don't have a huge problem with that. But I do want to see those two letters go in there, a week after and then a month following that.
All right, all good questions and comments. Any more? Yes, Meg. And Josh.
I would like to say that this does look really good, but I do believe we need a time frame of when we send out letters. And also, I think it would be a really good idea to add to this policy, to show the samples. I'd like to see what a sample letter would look like. Like, this is the first letter, this is the second letter. I would like to see the wording of that letter, and I'd like to see the time frames of this. As far as the penalties and interest and all that, we do have several who have not paid for the past 4 years. So if they still haven't paid, when it comes time to send out these, how does this policy affect someone who now, by the end of this year, might owe now 5 years' worth of taxes? How does that affect that delinquent account?
So, yeah, so penalties and interest, the penalties and interest part are under state law. And so the state law, I mean, the language that's in your policy is closely aligned with what is in the actual statutes, because that is what state law says. And so penalties and interest on those should already be added, and if they're not, then under state law, they should have been added, and certainly you can add them under state law. And under state law, you're entitled to file a lien. Just because you didn't have the policy in place that said you were going to do so, I think under state law, you were entitled to do so anyway. And so I think as long as you're complying with state law, then you're within your right to do that. it is better to do it on a yearly basis as opposed to wait 4 years and then do a bunch of them. But because it's allowed by state law, I think as long as you're following state law, you're allowed to do it.
Josh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to see the penalties and interest stay in there. Just, this is not going to be a cash cow revenue center for us, but staff time is going to go into it. Postage cost, hard cost here for supplies, albeit not a lot. It's still a cost that we're incurring, and, you know, if we can recover something, hate to penalize a homeowner, but we are all adults, we are all tax-paying adults. If you fail to pay a bill, you get penalized. If you fail to pay a medical bill, you get penalized. They are very quick to turn you to collections if you miss it for one day. $5 dental bill. So not saying that we should be that hard, but we are incurring costs by just simply starting this process for any homeowner. It's taking away from Cindy, it's taking away from her team. So the city should be compensated, albeit relatively a low amount for those few folks who are not paying. I still think it's beneficial to recover some of those costs, and if it's small amount of revenue, then it is a small amount of revenue. So,
Thank you, Josh. And if I could just ask for clarification on including sample letters, I'd really like to get this adopted this month. I'm sure that sample letters would need to go through some legal language vetting. I don't know the benefit of honestly including sample letters because they could change over time as well as state law changes. I mean, I'm just saying what I'm okay with the timelines and the letter reference. Don't really feel like I need to see the sample letters, but does anybody else feel differently? It'd be great to go ahead and get this adopted this month. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to see it, but I don't think the policy has to be contingent on the wording of the letter.
And one thing I think that Cindy and I can do is make your comment. I think we can provide a timeline, show you from the issuance of that to when we would get to filing a tax lien, and that would build in all when the letters would be issued, and when you get to the obvious conclusion, which is tax lien. So, and obviously we'll have to work on sample letters, but I think most important, as the mayor said, the most important part is having the policy clearly stated so that everybody knows what we're going to be doing.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments on that? And Paul, do you have any other items you want to update us on?
Before you just not really update, just submit for your edification again is the monthly staff training certifications and conferences. And if any of you all have had any, if you'd send me or Victoria an email about that, we can include yours as well. But it's before you, but I appreciate all the work our staff does to prepare this, but it's before you. The last thing that I have is just next month we will give you more detailed, not next month, next week, an event update. But just wanted you to know tomorrow is the first farmers market. So if you all like to do that, I encourage you to come out. And at the end of this month, we have our first concert in the Bowl on the 24th of May. And then we got Splash Night starting again on the 30th. And so we're transitioning into our summer agenda, and just be prepared for all that. Troy will give us an update next week on operations and construction, and then we'll also ask Chief King to give us a report next week as well. But with that, that concludes my city manager's report.
I think Gary might have a question.
I do. I just happened to ask Frank this since we were talking about a tax lien, and so I asked him, as a tax lien wiped out at foreclosure, and correct me if I misquote Frank, but he said it has a higher position, but if the county did a tax sale on the same property, our lien is wiped out. So we may need to consider an additional point in there that if it's over a certain dollar threshold or something, we may need to go to tax sale instead of just a lien because we may come up empty on that. And we set the dollar threshold, whatever, I mean, but $30,000, $40,000, I don't think we want to lose, big money like that. So I think we may need a caveat there just so we maintain a position.
We'll work with the council on getting that,
Okay, thank you.
and we'll have it for next week.
And I want to emphasize something before we close out here that Paul said. We should also submit our travel and our training. And just wanted to point that out. I did one that Paul has on the spreadsheet, I believe, related to GMA. I did not submit it because there were no city funds. I paid for all of it, which I do for a lot of the training that I do. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. But it's will not be reflected on the spreadsheet because there were no city funds used for it. So, all right. I do know that we have a need for executive session. Frank has a legal update for us, and then there's a couple of real estate matters that we've talked about, but they need to be brought up again. So, shouldn't take very long. Is there a motion to go into executive session? I have a motion from Alvin. Is there a second? Second from Meg. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, and we should have no action to take outside of executive session, but we'll come back out when we're done. All right, we are back from executive session. We talked, about one legal matter, 4 real estate matters, and 1 personnel matter. But we have no action to take outside of executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our May work session. Have a motion from Gary. Is there a second? Second from Meg. All those in favor, raise your right hand. We're adjourned until next Monday.